Okay, well, good evening, Dr. Rain. Thank you for rescheduling, and thank you for making this meeting happen. I'm Monica Ng. This is Nathaniel Sandberg. We're from the Product Development Office at Cogent, and we're here to talk to you about big data and UNT.
I'm myself today, right?
You can be.
Or am I the president?
Whichever you want.
Okay, I'll leave it.
Well, it was supposed to be for the president
Okay.
because he hasn't been here for too long.
That's what I thought I remembered.
Yes.
Okay,
So-
fine. Okay, I can do that.
So yeah, it's for the president. He's only been here for a few months. We would need to define big data for him, so we defined it as basically major trends in information, just because we don't know how much he does know about big data. And Monica's going to go ahead and get us started off.
And please feel free to interject at any point during the conversation. We want to make this as interactive as possible. So let me begin with a question, Dr. Rain. If your son came home with a 48% on a test, would you consider that to be a good grade?
No.
Would you consider it at least an acceptable grade by your standards?
No, it'd have to be at least, really anything below an 80 is not acceptable.
Well, if 48% is an unacceptable grade, then something needs to be done to help improve UNT's graduation rate. Because according to the latest iPads, UNT's graduation rate is at 48%, meaning that of all the freshmen that entered UNT in 2006, only 48% graduated by 2012, 2013. Now, if you thought 48% was bad, what's even more alarming is the 4-year graduation rate. Of those same freshmen who entered college or UNT in 2006, only 22% graduated in 4 years. That's pretty bad.
That's very bad.
Now, any ideas why the graduation rate is so low? Want to take a guess?
Well, I think that's one of the reasons they hired me, because they haven't figured it out. But finances, jobs, all of those things.
Yeah, that sounds good to me. And
Personal lives.
the truth is, no one really knows with any certainty, and you've said it yourself. That's why they hired you. If anyone knew why or how to fix it, we wouldn't be at 48%. So this is where we think big data can help. Big data analytics can help. Now let me tell you first about the industry leaders who are currently using big data to drive their business, to drive outcomes. Now what's interesting about this chart is that if you see the education sector is at 12%. Now if you compare that with the businesses that offer services at 15%, you'll notice that they're very close together. But if you consider how many more businesses there are compared to schools, you realize that education is actually at the forefront of big data analytics. Now, I know that you have a lot of experience in higher education. Would you agree that graduation rate, or the problem of low graduation rate, is a problem that's not unique to UNT?
Absolutely.
That many colleges have this problem.
Most colleges.
Yeah, most colleges, we would agree. And from our research, we have found that this is a bigger problem among the public universities compared to the privates. And so, a major problem. And it would be safe to say that the education sector using big data now is using big data to inquire about ways to help graduation rate. So these are the leaders, and we need to be part of this slice of the sectors that are using big data. Now, from the standpoint of graduation rate and higher education, we think that big data can help, especially in the areas of recruitment and retention. The two most traditional, most typical key performance indicators that have contributed to graduation rates. Now this is an area that we believe needs the most help, and so because from our research we have found that students are still choosing where to go to college on based on whims, based on chance, based on circumstances, all outside of what will lead them to their dream career. So, Dr. Ray, let me ask you, do you remember what made you decide to go to Texas Tech?
Yes.
Mind sharing that with us?
My dad was in the military. He retired when I was in the last 6 weeks of my junior year in high school. And we moved to Lubbock, and we moved into the first house I had ever lived in. It wasn't an army house, and it had wallpaper with little yellow flowers on it. That made a huge impression on me. And about 4 months later, it was time for me to start applying to colleges, and I got accepted to UT, and I got accepted to Texas Tech, and I thought about packing up again and moving into another dorm that was going to be just like another military house. And I thought, yeah, no, I'm going to stay here where I have my yellow wallpaper and go to Texas Tech. And I did.
And interestingly enough, this great story you just told us and the beautiful wallpaper, I'm sure, none of it is related to...
Bad reason to choose a college.
Exactly, exactly, and we definitely agree. And the information that we found shows that most prospective students today are still making these gut-based decisions about where to go to college. For example, they'll look at how nice a campus looks. They'll look at whether they know anyone who's been there, whether their parents have attended that university, whether their friends are going there, and so whether their boyfriends are going there, yeah. And so these are all factors that are determining where they're going to college. Such an important decision, such an impactful decision for, you know, the rest of their lives, really. And this is something that is left to feelings, how they feel about a place, whether they want to pack up again or not, how close or far away they want to be from home. So we think that this culture is going to change, especially with the increase of big data. That we believe that big data will not only push students to make more data-driven, more informed decisions, but that they should also think of it that way. So, for example, Dr. Rain, would you have appreciated having more information, knowing what you know now about big data? Would you have appreciated having this tool at your disposal when you were choosing where to go to college?
As an 18-year-old, I'm not sure I would have appreciated it. I think it would have been good if my parents had had it, so perhaps they could have given me more guidance than I got.
Mm-hmm.
But
well,
information's always a good thing.
Yeah, yeah. And, well, Nathaniel's going to talk to you more about that. So I'm going to hand it over to Nathan, and he's going to tell you about some up-and-coming trends in big data and education, specifically as it relates to recruitment and retention. And here's a really good article on what's going to be happening with LinkedIn. And this is like hot off the presses.
Thank you.
So, you said your parents would have liked to have the information?
Yeah.
Which is great, because the CEO of LinkedIn actually was going through the whole process recently as well, and he found it hard to find that information, right? Like, how do you go to the school that'll get you in the right job, the career that you want to choose, or that you have chosen, right?
Mm-hmm.
Well, so he was going through all this, and he's got all this information about how people have gotten into those positions. So now he's going to take it, and he's going to use to make a system that'll help guide you to make the right decisions about their colleges.
Interesting.
Yeah. So that's the future. That's how people are going to start picking and choosing their schools, how they're going to get to the right degree. And you're going to have much more motivated students, right? Because they already know going in what they want to do when they come out.
We would hope.
Yeah.
And so UNT would also have the ability to use this as a way to get ourselves out there and get UNT out there.
Well, you certainly want to know what it says about you, don't you?
Yes.
So let's go ahead and take a look. Should take just 1 second to load.
Yeah, I don't want, like grade across and show that teacher because they give all A's.
So where do they work?
Interesting.
graduates.
Well,
Yeah, I was a little bit concerned actually. It's not that bad though.
if you go through and
I can get it down to like 200 if I go back to 1990, but obviously they included people that are students, graduate students that are working here. But still, it's going to be important, like, if that's what they're going to have to say about you, how many people are going to come work at UNT, or come to school at UNT so they can get a job at UNT.
Mhm.
So that's a lot of information. You want to know what it's going to say about you, and basically I think that'd be something I would want to know. Would you be interested?
Mhm.
And I'll go back to this. Well, not that one. So Facebook also has a lot of information as well, right? You mentioned earlier there's reasons that you can't really control why people are dropping out, leaving school. Obviously, there's not a lot you can do about some of those, but certainly Facebook was created for college students, so it's going to have a lot of information about college students, why they're leaving, you know, if they're going back home to go to work or something. Obviously, there's not a lot you can do about that, but there are other factors that are probably influencing this decision. There's a lot of information, right, with 1.2 billion users.
Well, and right now, the data we have tells us things like 32% of the people who drop out in their freshman year are women and they're blue, whatever. But it doesn't tell us, it just tells us who they are. It doesn't tell us why they did it. I mean, if we knew they dropped out because of financial reasons, then we would have an opportunity to intervene and say, okay, what we need to do is find financial aid for these students.
Yeah, that would be excellent. And I mean, people post stuff on Facebook that would probably tell you a little bit about that, right?
And you can legally access this information.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, anyway, that's that. So, how do your students currently pick their classes?
Right, Prof?
Yeah, right.
What's
and-
not taught at 8 a.m. in the morning?
Yeah, right. And that's like, that goes back to this 48%, right? The people that are only taking the easy classes probably aren't taking the classes that they need to graduate, right?
Correct, which is why they're here for 6 and 7 years.
I mean, I kind of assume that. Do you have information?
No, that's just a guess.
Yeah, so that's something, you know, your data can help you out with. Beta professor, that's a lot of information. You already have a lot of information too, right? Like, your advisors, how do they recommend classes?
Well, they look at the student's degree plan and they find out what requirements they've met and what requirements they haven't met, and they tell them, you have gaps here that you need to fill in.
Okay.
Now,
And
the
that,
students don't always do it, but yes.
yeah, that makes sense, right? But there are a lot of things like core requirements, like you need to take a language, right?
Yes.
And say you're in the sciences, you're gonna be taking a lot of hard science classes, right? Like chemistry.
Yes.
Those classes don't strike me as working well together, right? Like if I want to take Chinese, I have to learn something that doesn't even have a phonetic alphabet, right?
Mm-hmm.
And chemistry is just a hard science. Those two classes don't seem to work together, right?
Mm-hmm.
So would your advisor make that recommendation?
Probably not.
Probably not. Okay.
And that's assuming that the student even goes to the advisor. Unfortunately, very few students ever actually get into the advisor's office. They think they know everything.
Okay.
Make bad mistakes.
And how does the advisor know that that doesn't work together, chemistry and? Well, that's information that you already have though, right? Because you
Yeah.
have information on all your students, how well they've done, and you could use it, integrate it with how they currently pick classes, right?
Yeah,
Because they pick them online already.
yes.
So why can't we make like students, we could integrate that information. We could also make your online process more personalized. You know, students that took this also took this. You can use those recommendations from the information that you already have. Use that information that you have to help your students and to help your graduation rate.
Interesting.
I've been talking for long enough. So Monica is going to get back to it.
Thank you. And Dr. Rain, this logo we created is meant to be a metaphor for what we could do to help retain students and make sure that they graduate. So the idea is a more streamlined way to choose classes, when to take certain classes, what classes to take together, based on data that is out there. So now, let me tell you about two major reasons for why UNT needs to raise its graduation rate from a business perspective. So number one, UNT makes an investment on every student it recruits, things like college fare, institutional aid, and when these students drop out, transfer out, don't graduate, not only does UNT lose that initial investment, but then it has to spend more to recruit more students and replace the ones who leave. So that's number one. Number two, college rankings. You know that college rankings like U.S. News and World Report, the Princeton Review, they place a premium on graduation rates, and that's what influences the rankings. And if UNT wants to raise its profile, wants to raise its ranking, its reputation, which will attract more better quality students, then it definitely needs to raise the graduation rate, because at 22%, you're not going to get very high in the ranking. So two important business reasons for why we need to raise graduation rate. But not only from this business perspective is it important, there's also pressure from the state. And so the Texas Higher Education Coordinating Board has prescribed 2 goals for all public colleges and universities in the state of Texas. Number one, they want to dramatically raise post-secondary completions. Basically, they want to dramatically raise graduation rates. Number two, and this is closely aligned to the success of number one, which is align higher education outcomes with current and future workforce needs. Basically, what that means is they want graduates to get jobs. Yeah, they want graduates to get jobs. And so, and notice that this is the culture now. It's very numbers driven, right? It's very results and numbers driven. And this, we believe, will be the future as well. And so we need to make our decisions based on data, and we need to show results that are data supported. So not only is there internal and external reasons to improve graduation rate, I'd like to tell you about a university that is today using big data to improve graduation rate. I'm talking about Purdue University in Indiana. They've been able to raise graduation rate by 21%. They developed a data mining and analysis software program called Signals. And Signals works much like traffic signals, red, yellow, green. Now, let me tell you how this works. Signals tracks student online behavior, such as when do they open a reading assignment for a course, when do they complete, how long it takes them to complete a set of math problems, for example. It takes that data and combines it with the student's demographic information, such as standardized test scores, high school GPA, current grades. It combines all of that information and it displays a simple color feedback to the student. So for example, if students get green signals, that means they may get a message from their instructor saying, good job, keep up the good work. If students get a yellow signal, they may get a message from the instructor saying, evening tutoring sessions are available at this place at this time. When students slip from, for example, the yellow to a red signal, they will get a message from the instructor saying, please come see me in my office, here's how to make an appointment. And so you can see there's intervention early on, and students get feedback early on. Now, another benefit of this data mining program is that I think we've all taken courses where you don't get a major grade until the midterm exam. And a lot of times students don't know how they're doing in terms of their performance until that midterm, until they're midway into the semester. And a lot of times it's too late to make study habit changes, too late to make schedule changes. And so what this program does is it can tell you as early as the second week of class how they're performing in that course. And additionally, it can also be very beneficial to instructors, because if you see that when you're teaching a particular unit in the course and students are slipping from yellow to red, or they're improving, then that's also information that the instructors can use to make modifications to their course. Now this is what it would look like for a student, but it's blurry because it's
Produce.
it,
They're not going to
They
show
don't want
it
us
to
to
us.
have
yes.
Figure.
So we apologize, but this is the best graphic we could get. So now, Dr. Ring, could you see something like this work for UNT?
Definitely.
Yeah, and in what ways would you like to see, you know, something like this? Like, would it be tied to a course, for example?
It would probably be useful to tie it to core courses that all students
Mhm.
have to take,
Mm-hmm.
because that would give us the broadest
Mm-hmm.
range.
Yeah.
And I don't know if it would be possible, but it could be adapted to show us something about students' buying habits on campus. That would be useful too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. We agree. And I think that you could use our big data expertise, and we could, I think to begin, we have two deliverables or two major recommendations to begin introducing big data to UNT. So we would begin with a thorough analysis. So, and we would identify and prioritize key performance indicators that impact a graduation rate. Now, we just talked about recruitment and retention. These are just the, two of the most basic key performance indicators. But without looking at the data, we don't know if there are any other ones, right? We don't know if there are any other factors that have even more impact to graduation rate. We just think that recruitment and retention are the biggest factors. But we can also dig deeper. We can look at retention and recruitment more deeply. So for example, when students drop out mid-semester, they get handed a card with a short questionnaire to find out why they're dropping out, and many of them just report financial. Mm-hmm. Well, is it financial because they lost their job because they were taking too many classes? Is it financial because a mother of three couldn't find help for daycare, essentially, and had to drop out of school? Is it because husband got deployed? I mean, there are many reasons why financial would be the reason for leaving, but right now we don't know. And we really think that big data can pinpoint to the problem so that we can develop more sophisticated, more fine-grained solutions. And we believe this will have a better impact than what we're doing now for graduation rates. We would also develop a formal data strategy to mine and analyze UNT's social media presence with what UNT is already collecting. So, for example, dropout rates, course grades, attendance, everything that you're currently collecting. We would combine all of that together and find the insights, find the trends to help you, again, make more sophisticated decisions about how to solve this. Our time is up, but thank you for your time, and we hope that we can set up a follow-up meeting. Would you be interested in hearing our proposal?
Sure. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.